mommies lots of time to get here and get settled, so we know how complicated it can be to get out of the house. So I want to welcome all of you to the Care.com Community Leaders Summit. Thank you all for making it out of the house, and we will think about all the mommies that maybe didn't quite make it. I'm Lisa McNeese. This is Amaranth Slee. And we're really excited that this is happening, that we have so many leaders here today. We've talked forever, and some of you have been in those conversations about, wouldn't it be great to have a parent club conference? So it's amazing that this is actually happening. A little background, we're both parent club leaders. And we've experienced the joys and the struggles of running parent clubs, and we knew that there were other parent clubs all around us that were having the same issues. But we kept thinking, wouldn't it be great if we could get everybody together, we could collaborate, we could share best practices, and then somebody would get pregnant, and somebody would have a tantrum, and another year would go by, and we wouldn't have the capacity to do any of it. So finally, in June of 2013, we started Parent Clubs on Board. We hired our attorney after interviewing her on our front lawn with kids running around because one of the 4-year-olds wouldn't get out of the car. We sat down with parent club leaders at play dates in our homes, in many of your homes, in coffee shops, in the conference center at Parents' Place. And because we're nonprofit junkies, we came up with a community building manifesto. So this is what our manifesto is. Our vision is for parent communities and parent leaders to thrive. And our approach is to meet communities where they are and to bring leaders to the table in meaningful ways. We believe in building community strength from the inside out and from the ground up. And we believe that community building is an organic process. It's not a product. And the goal of it is to create and sustain healthy communities that provide value and meaning to members. So based on the leaders' feedback that we've been talking about, we started helping out with preschool fairs in the fall of 2013. And at the same time, Care.com bought Big Tent. And then in April of 2014, Care.com and Parent Clubs on Board joined forces because we both realized that we have this common goal of building and supporting parent communities. Care.com was formed by Sheila Marcello. She's a mom who was struggling with issues of childcare and senior care. And she knew that for parents, especially for women, to pursue lives of meaning and purpose, they needed childcare. And with the community initiative, Care.com has extended that concept into communities. Parents and families will be more successful if they can build real, healthy communities that support parents to connect to each other and local resources. I think that the work that we're embarking on today is really the start of the next evolution of parent clubs. The first evolution started with small groups of women getting together. They were really connected. They knew each other well. With Yahoo groups, Google groups, Big Tent, all of these things came in, and that was the second evolution of parent clubs. And a lot of these clubs grew exponentially from 200 to 2,000 to 5,000 to 8,000 members. And it was really difficult for clubs to maintain that connected community where everybody knew each other. A lot of clubs at that same time began to incorporate dads, and many changed their names from Mother's Club to Parent Club, but most of them struggled in this process. That in-person core experience of original clubs has been hard to continue and support. And in a lot of cases, the technology and those online interactions have really replaced the in-person connections. Parents are still looking to reduce their isolation. They're still looking to parent clubs to make friends, but that can be really, really challenging. So I think and I hope that we're on the cusp of what I'd like to think of the third evolution of parent clubs. And I think that that's really going to be characterized by connection empowered by technology. What would it look like if our connections were empowered rather than replaced when we're using technology? How can our parent communities leverage the technology to make us more efficient and stronger, rather than it just adding complexity to the work that we do and taking time away from what our core activities really are? We're busy, our lives are complicated, but we all still need to sit down with another person in her yoga pants too, with the spit up in her hair, to really make us feel normal. And we don't get that in an online experience. So I'm hoping today that we can start that conversation. The information we're going to be presenting over the day is based on our hard-earned experience, plus conversations with you guys, from questions that you've had to expertise you've been wanting to develop. Just a word, for lots of cultural and social and economic reasons, the Parent Club movement has been mostly appealing to moms. So most of the leaders are moms. And so you might hear some language bias throughout the day as we talk about moms and mom leaders. But like I said, we believe in building communities from the inside out. So you guys decide who's in your community, and we're here to support you however you define that. If that's a mom's only club, a dad's only club, or a parent club that combines the two. We really want today to serve as confirmation of the importance of the work that you are all doing in your communities. And we hope that it also inspires you to be able to continue it. Too often our volunteer time is thought to be extra. And it's something that we feel like selfishly we're taking time away from our families to have a moment away, to use our brains again. But I think we really want to bring the awareness of the value of the work that you're doing in all our communities so that we can really look at it as central. This work is central, it's not extra. You're doing something important for your communities. You're doing something important for parents. The skills and the connections that you're building, they're going to serve your entire community in your next job, in your next organization, if you go on to volunteer in other nonprofits, and possibly even in your own next company. So I want to say thank you for all your work, and thank you for being here today. When we thought about this conference, we really wanted to get back to the origins of where this parent club movement came from. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Amaranth, and she's going to introduce our keynote speaker. Thank you.
At least you didn't jump on us.
It takes a lot of self-restraint to not jump onto the stage and then off the stage, so we'll see how that goes. Thank you, Lisa. I'm Amaranth. And I wanted to just start by saying that as we expanded the community initiative through Parent Clubs on Board and then supported by CARE, we went beyond the peninsula. And we repeatedly came across the name Kate Hopke. She was mentioned on many Parent Club websites as the original trainer and community organizer that helped establish their clubs. And as our perspective of parent communities began to pan out across multiple clubs and geographic areas, Kate's legend grew. Was it possible that all of this began with one woman, one mom? So much of our community's history has slipped away, and yet we're all here because we're standing on someone else's shoulders. So we set out to find Kate and rediscover her original vision. Every week for the past few months, we've been meeting together to create this day for all of you. It's been a privilege to collaborate with Kate. She's been a fierce and inspiring teacher who has shown me leadership that comes from both the head and heart. And before I ask her to join us, I wanted to point out that this is the last page of her self-published book. And there's a handwritten quote at the bottom by Cicero, who said that the diligent farmer plants trees of which he himself will never see the fruit. We as parents and community leaders are seeding the future of our families, our schools and communities, and the unknowable effects of our actions. But today, we've come full circle, and Kate is here to witness the legacy that she has helped create. This is a rare and precious moment for all of us to learn our history and move forward together, guided by the wisdom and purpose that has forged our path. Please join me in welcoming Kate Hopke.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yes. Hi, I'm Kate. It's really an honor to be with you here today. Thanks to Amaranth and Lisa for finding me and for their vision in creating Parents Clubs on Board. And thanks to Care.com for making this conference possible and for their vision to support Parents Clubs in strengthening both online and offline community. I was surprised last summer when I received a LinkedIn invitation from Lisa asking me if I wanted to have lunch with her in Amaranth. It had been 18 years since I had retired from my Mother's Club work, and although I occasionally heard from club members during that time, it was pretty rare. They drove to the city to meet me, and we hit it off immediately. I was impressed by their desire to know the origins of these clubs. What did I have in mind 25 years ago when I was driving around the Bay Area in my Toyota Camry, teaching training workshops to launch them? As a student of history, I appreciate the question, on whose shoulders do we stand? Their curiosity to know the answer to that question gave them credibility with me. So we agreed to meet regularly and begin a dialogue that has culminated in this conference. Our conversations centered on what they were learning from all of you. Basically, what was working and not working in your clubs, and what were the emerging patterns found across all clubs. In other words, what are the themes that we could address that would shed new light, offer new perspectives, and possibly reinvigorate your work? We landed on 3 themes that we hope will encompass many of the questions that you bring here today and provide the seeds for solutions that you can take home with you. Relationships, leadership, and legacy.
I got deleted.
So now, instead of looking at that slide that accidentally got deleted, you get to look at this picture a little bit longer. Isn't it cute? I like it. So relationships are what many of you came here looking for when you joined your Parents Club. And you may not feel that you have found them. We're going to talk about that today. Why not? What has prevented them from developing? What might you do differently to realize them? The quality of relationships is what creates the container for your club, the social fabric that holds us. Relationships are the club's raison d'etre. Everything else we do is in support of them. Program development, decision-making, fundraising, long-range planning, you name it. At the end of the day, I suggest that we can measure our success by the quality of our relationships. Leadership. All of you here today play a leadership role in your club, whether as a board member, a committee chair, or a future board member. We're going to explore what leadership means in the context of a Parents Club. Is it the same as leadership on the job? What are your assumptions about it? Why do people seek it? What wants to be developed in us? And finally, legacy. For me, legacy is how we construct meaning from what we have created and contributed. What difference do our actions make? What will we leave the next generation of parents who take our place? How do we gracefully let go and welcome the next generation? Longing for relationship at this time in our lives. It makes sense, doesn't it? In the early years of parenthood, we are creating a foundation that will guide our families' lives for the future. We have a heightened sense of awareness about how we relate to others, and we are conscious of what we want to teach our children so that they will have the skills for healthy relationships as they grow. At the same time, we're asking ourselves questions about who we are now that we're parents. What are my values? What do I believe in? What will be my guiding principles? For me, becoming a mother caused a significant shift in my identity. But of course, that's true for all of us. Many of you are familiar with Erik Erikson's 8 stages of psychosocial development. We all took this in Psych 101, right? When we were in school. Which suggests that we all go through a predictable developmental sequence as human beings. Identity formation, or who am I, begins in adolescence and leads us into the 3 stages of adult development: intimacy, generativity, and integrity. Intimacy meaning relationship. Generativity meaning legacy, or what we create and leave behind. And integrity meaning a sense of fulfillment and wholeness. Erikson's work derived from Freud, and his landmark books were published in the 1950s. He argued that the developmental stages are distinct one from another, and that in the case of identity, it always precedes intimacy. He said that we need to know who we are before we enter into adult relationship. Then, in the 1980s, came along Carol Gilligan, a feminist and a developmental psychologist who taught at Harvard at the time. And she challenged his theories because she said he only studied men. She hypothesized that women develop differently. Specifically, she said that for women, the stages of intimacy and identity are fused. They occur together. Unlike Erikson, who said that identity always precedes intimacy, Gilligan said that a woman comes to know herself as she is known, through her relationships with others. In other words, we become who we are in the reflection of other people. We're social animals. It's no surprise that parents' clubs have endured all these years. They speak so directly to that basic developmental need in all of us. Gilligan's groundbreaking books, Making Connections and In a Different Voice, helped me give language to what I was already experiencing. My journey as a parent began 33 years ago. I'm originally from Michigan, and my former husband, Michael, was from Germany. He was in the hotel business, which meant that we moved a lot. Our first child was born in 1982 in Los Angeles, and in 1983, we relocated to Huntington Beach in Orange County. I was a stay-at-home mom with a 1-year-old and pregnant with our second child. Like a lot of young moms, I was in love with my daughter and soon-to-be second daughter, optimistic about the vast future that lay before us, and hungry to learn about child development. At the same time, I was lonely, isolated from people my own age, emotionally and geographically distant from my family of origin, and longing for a sense of connection to something bigger than myself. One day I stumbled on a bulletin board notice at the local maternity shop inviting me to join the Huntington Beach Mothers Club. I called the number and spoke with a woman named Betsy, who was warm and funny and made me happy that I had made the call. She described what the club had to offer: playgroups, family parties and outings, a monthly meeting for moms featuring speakers, opportunities to meet other moms, and a newsletter. From her description, I was inferring my own meaning: support, resources, connection, community, and fun. There were 2 requirements for membership: having at least 1 child aged birth to 5 and paying an annual dues of $12, $1 a month. A fair price for salvation, don't you think? She invited me to the next general meeting for moms the following Tuesday evening. I hung up the phone and felt like I had been thrown a lifeline. By the time Tuesday rolled around, I was excited on the one hand and ambivalent on the other. I clearly remember driving to the meeting and sitting outside in my car thinking, I don't have to go in there. I could always go to the mall. I did. I was nervous, unsure of myself, and probably on some level knew this was going to change everything. Thankfully, I moved through my discomfort and found the courage to go inside. Betsy introduced me to other members, including my new playgroup pals. Christina and I were now expected to be somewhere next Thursday morning and every Thursday thereafter. I felt a new enthusiasm entering my life. Christina did too. She couldn't wait for playgroup day and started referring to the kids as her friends. We were all getting to know each other, and for me, a lonely Midwest transplant, I was becoming known to them. And as Carol Gilligan says, I was coming to know myself. After 4 years in California, I was beginning to feel like I belonged here. Within months, I was feeling more joyful, optimistic, and creative. Week after week, we were